guys, welcome to the 12th ever edition of WWMS, our live school morning announcements every Friday here on the Fanwoods YouTube channel. Today is going to be an amazing morning announcement show as we will cover some movie news and gaming news, some sports news with the Spurs earning the #1 overall pick in Tuesday night's lottery, and of course our history lesson of May 19th, and also an interview. But let's start off, as always, with our joke of the week. What did the pig say on a hot day? I'm bacon. We hope you guys got some enjoyment out of that on a wonderful Friday morning. We have many things to break down in today's episode, so let's start off with perhaps the most fun of them all. We were given the opportunity to interview our school principal, Miss Bannock, to break down the new schedule that will start next year. Here it is. Hey everybody, I'm Chase Coburn here from Fairfield Woods Middle School, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, our school principal here at Fairfield Woods Middle School, Mrs. Bannock, as I'm going to sit down with her and talk about next year's new schedule for the 2023-24 school year. Mrs. Bannock, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning.
Of course, thank you so much for coming on to the show. So I do have a few questions for you this morning. And the first one that I think was really a big change is that right now the schedule we currently have the school year, it's an A through G schedule, kind of like we had in elementary school in a sense, but obviously, of course, this year with periods and all that. But then now you guys are going to be switching to a Monday through Friday schedule. What kind of made you transition into that change?
I think there were a couple of factors, in speaking with teachers and staff and students, even people who have had experience with a middle school schedule for years, many of us, myself included, even at this point in the year, have difficulty really wrapping our minds around which periods are we dropping on which days because there's just so many days in that rotation. And so in speaking with staff and working with my administrative colleagues, we decided that it would be best if we amended the schedule and made some revisions so that it really stuck within a 5-day week. I think one of the biggest confusions about the current schedule is that you can't count on a particular day of the week running a particular way. And so instead of thinking in Monday through Friday, which we've all thought in for years, we had to then think of it's an A day, it's a B day, it's a C day. And it was super confusing for our students and our staff. So we wanted to be responsive to those concerns. In addition, in the first iteration of the schedule, we wanted to put in some kind of an intervention period, but we had difficulty fitting that in the 7-day rotation. So in this new version, it's going to run on a Monday to Friday. It's going to be every Monday will run the same way, every Tuesday and so on, and including the periods that drop. And we're going to be adding in a period that's going to be called Flex, which will be used for all sorts of different interventions and events in the building.
All right, so kind of adding on to what you said, yes, so you're shortening classes from 65 minutes to 57 minutes. That's 8 minutes more per class, and then that sets up that flex period. So I guess my question, two questions. One, how come you shortened the minutes in a class? And then how exactly are the students going to meet? Will they meet for the flex time? Will they meet with their previous class? Will they go to their homeroom? Like, where are they going to
Right, great questions. So the shortening of the class period was really to ensure that we could include 3 days a week. You guys will have 5 classes a day, and 2 days a week you'll have 4 classes a day. On the days when you have 5 classes a day, there won't be any flex.
Okay.
So flex is only going to run on Tuesdays and Fridays. The shortening of the period allowed us to fit those 5 periods in and allowed us to stagger all 3 grade levels of lunch in a way that we no longer have to run a split lunch for, in this year it was 7th grade. Had we stayed with the 7-day, we were going to switch it to another grade level next year. But given the feedback that 7th grade staff has been able to share with us, and the UA staff who have the split level lunch, it can be really challenging to have 30 minutes of class, then have kids leave you for 30 minutes, then come back for 30 minutes. So, and just dropping those 8 minutes, the last 10 to 15 minutes of classes this year in the 65-minute block have really been the most challenging for students to stay on task, for teachers to continue the momentum of the lesson, not for lack of strategy. Our teachers are wonderful, and they always have things that they can do with you guys. But really to to keep everyone's attention for that length of time was incredibly challenging.
Right.
So dropping it off by 8 minutes, we're hoping will really solidify the instructional block and allow everybody's attention span to be a little bit more in the realm of reality.
Yeah, makes sense. So, you keep mentioning what these teachers or what these students think. How did you get that? Do you go up to individual teachers or for students to have a survey? Like, what kind of do you do to know what students and teachers are thinking of the schedule so you know to make changes?
Right, that's a great question. So we have a couple of layers of leadership within the building. There's a group of liaisons, which are team leaders for the teaching teams in the building, and they consult with the administrators once a month. We have a meeting to talk about all sorts of building needs, but this was among them. We also had an absolutely incredible partnership with the teachers union. They're called the Fairfield Education Association, and there were members of that union and some other representatives that joined with us and helped us to co-design this new schedule. So that teacher voice was a very large piece of where we ended up. In addition, we utilized the student survey that we gave a couple of months ago to all of you, and took that information and that feedback in looking at this redesign.
So you're shortening the homeroom to now just 10 minutes instead of 8:10 to 8:34. Now we're going 8:10 to 8:20. Why did you make that change?
So homeroom in middle school we felt was important enough that we wanted to leave it because we think it's super important for you guys to be able to come in every day, have a place to touch base, take attendance, just kind of get settled into your day. However, the length of the period was a little problematic. It was it's not always being utilized for anything other than hanging out with friends and playing on your Chromebook, which in and of itself is not a bad thing, but we would rather restructure that into instructional time.
Yeah.
I know you would never think that's a bad thing.
Right.
But when we look at it as instructors and educators, it made more sense to kind of fold that into the day and be able to have you reallocate that time into a flex and reallocate that time into being able to have the lunches separated enough so that the custodians have enough time to clean in between, and it's not as tight as it is now.
Okay.
I don't know how much of that you guys see in 6th grade, but it's very tight.
So I got 2 quick questions here before we do wrap up the show.
Sure.
So I'll just ask you this one. How do you think the schedule will balance between the people who really liked this new schedule compared to the people that really like the old schedule? How do you think this will kind of be a balance for those people?
Well, I mean, listen, I think change is hard. It's always hard. It's hard for everybody. Moving to another structure after we just changed to a new structure, I think can be difficult for folks. Staff, by and large, have been amazing in voicing concerns, sharing their ideas about how we want to move forward for next year. So, and they've also been very communicative, and students have as well, in sharing reasons why this current schedule is problematic. So I don't know how much of a balance there will be. I think there are plenty of people that will be happy that we're not doing a 7-day rotation anymore.
Right.
And will any schedule ever, make everybody happy? No. That can't happen. Right. So we have to go for the sweet spot of what's instructionally appropriate and balances all of the needs of the building, which we feel that the schedule does in a better way than our current schedule.
I'm glad it does. So real quick, the last question I do have for you is you just mentioned Chromebooks, and I thought of something in the middle of this. So for that flex period, if people are done with their work and they don't have any extra classes to go to, is that now going to turn into what is now homeroom for people sometimes, which is just play on your Chromebook and do whatever you want?
No, that's a really good question. It's because we restructured it out of homeroom, that's instructional time. So there will be a task list for everyone to be accomplishing during that time.
Okay.
Some kids might be meeting with different teachers at that time for extra help. We might have makeup music lessons. We might have somebody talking to a counselor, a speech and language pathologist, going to make up a test in the library because they were absent for a week. There will be plenty of things to do in that period, and it is not going to be allowed by teachers to turn into a time where we're just playing games and fooling around with our friends.
Okay.
There's a place for that,
right.
Just not in that time, especially since we restructured it to be specifically instructional.
I was wondering that because I know you were saying you restructured it there, so I was hoping that or I guess some kids were probably hoping that flex turned into that time.
I'm sure.
But yeah, Mrs. Bannock, thank you so much for breaking down this new schedule. I think we will solve some of the needs that people had about the new schedule, the things that they didn't like. Hopefully, this will kind of again hit the sweet spot of, as you said, on how people really like the schedule and how you're able to utilize it. So thank you so much for coming on and breaking this down with us.
Thanks so much. It was a pleasure.
This school made a significant schedule change for the first time in a very long time this year, and they're changing it again. Thank you, Ms. Bannock, for giving us this information. One of the most interesting things that happened on May 19th in previous years came not too long ago. In fact, just in 2021, when New York City began reopening their city after 423 days of lockdown. The New York City death total at the point was 33,000 people. New York City has since been back to being the city, one that sure doesn't sleep. The most famous birthday on May 19th is Andre the Giant. Born in 1946, the Frenchman was a very famous professional wrestler in the 1970s, making his wrestling debut in 1966. He is known for his large build, which made him a fun wrestler to watch, as he was 7'4", 520 pounds. Just for context, he is the 9th highest weighted wrestler of all time. He unfortunately passed away in 1993 at age 46. He would have been 77 today. Rest in peace to a wrestling legend. For our sports fans, the NBA draft lottery was Tuesday night, and there was a team that came out of the night as a winner. The San Antonio Spurs landed the number one overall pick, where they will most likely take France's super prospect Victor Wembanyama. The 7'4" big is consensusly considered the best player in this class, and will most likely be the number one overall pick, as he has a large wingspan, which makes him a stellar rim protector, along with his stellar three-point shooting and dunking. Some are saying he is the most hyped-up prospect since LeBron James in 2003. And the crazy thing is, it actually was the Wizards who had the best odds to get Wembanyama in the end before it went to San Antonio. Because with the way the lottery system works, the Wizards had a 54.5% chance of landing the number one overall pick, but fell to number 8. Now that San Antonio has the pick, the Spurs could be dangerous. Their previous 2 first overall picks have been 2 Hall of Fame big men, Tim Duncan and David Robinson, who combined for 7 NBA championships and 4 NBA MVPs. The draft is June 22nd at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, where the Spurs will most likely take the generational talent. After some entertaining games already, the Celtics play the Heat for Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals tonight, while the Lakers play the Nuggets at home for Game 3 in the Western Conference Finals, and the Lakers are still undefeated in Crypto.com Arena thus far this postseason. As we mentioned last week, Shrek 5 comes out tomorrow and is receiving a ton of hype. After the first 4 movies grossed $1.2 billion. However, Shrek actually has some responding to do, as despite being a very popular meme and movie, the last 3 movies have not been great for the series, all grossing the 3 lowest totals in the franchise's history. And after all of the hype and all of the mentions here on the show, Fast and Furious 10, otherwise known as Fast X, comes out today in theaters. Buckle your seatbelt, because Vin Diesel and Jason Momoa are going to take you on some ride, to say the least. Now for our gaming news. Hello Neighbor Search and Rescue comes out on May 25th for PlayStation VR 2 and PlayStation VR. The developers of Hello Neighbor, Tiny Build, and Dynamic Pixels have made a whopping $16 million, but sadly the game isn't very polished, with a ton of glitches that make the game not entertaining. The game has a great storyline, but could have had so much more potential. Hopefully this game is more well developed, so we can have some fun playing the game. Next, we have The Lord of the Rings Gollum for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, and that comes out on May 25th as well. Finally, we have The Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and PC, which comes out the very next day on May 26th. We hope you guys enjoyed the 12th ever edition of WWMS, our live school morning announcements every Friday here on the Fanwoods YouTube channel. We hope you guys got some info about a variety of topics. Shout out to YouTube channels Mr. Latte Gamer, Mr. TC Gamer, and Sports for Kids. Enjoy the NBA playoffs. Thanks to a great behind-the-scenes crew of Marshall Shaw, Noah Wider, Rishi, and Alexander Majeski. Signing off here from Fairfield Middle School, I am Chase Coburn, and we'll see you next Friday.